Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, Lee, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us
Of
today.
course.
So I'm going to jump straight in and ask the big question. This movie was absolutely amazing last night. So tell us a little bit about how it came about for you. Like, what was the thing that made you want to do an Invisible Man movie?
I actually wasn't thinking of an Invisible Man movie at all.
Yeah.
I had just finished Upgrade. I had been bitten by the action movie bug, and I think I was keen to like go and shoot the $50 million version of Upgrade.
Yeah.
Crash, 40 cars instead of one car.
Yeah.
I was keen to get my Michael Bay on.
Yeah.
And then this idea was suggested to me. The idea of doing the Invisible Man, and it's not anything I had given any thought to, but as soon as it was in my mind, it was truly an inception.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't leave my brain. It was taking up space rent-free, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's usually the first sign that I'm going to make a film, is when it just won't go away.
Yeah.
And that's how it came about. I just went back to Blumhouse and Universal and said, I'm interested in doing this.
Yeah.
And we were off to the races. It was remarkable how quickly the pieces all fell together.
Yeah. Does that change the writing process when it's not an idea that's kind of been in your mind for years and years and you've wanted to get it out onto paper? Because I know when I was at film school,
Right.
I used to get really annoyed when a lecturer used to say, this is the topic that you need to write a script
Yeah,
on.
right.
So did that change your writing process?
It did, in the sense that you have to be aware of this legacy that's behind you. Like,
Yeah.
other people have made Invisible Man movies, and I wanted to avoid repeating them.
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to say, well, this is just a retread of so-and-so. And so, if anything, it was more an awareness to avoid those other movies.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing, was trying to take this character and modernize it and make it very new.
Yeah.
In other words, to make it feel like no other Invisible Man movie had ever existed, and this was the first.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the biggest challenge for me, was like, I can't tell you how many scenes I came up with that I put on the reject pile
Yeah.
because I felt that they had been done
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that moment in another Invisible Man movie.
Yeah.
As soon as I felt like I had seen it before, I scratched it.
Yeah. And of course, like, it's been so many different ways the story's been told over the years. Like, there's been comedy and everything. So when did you settle that you wanted to make this a really kind of dark story about domestic violence?
Really early on, I knew I wanted it to be dark. I knew I wanted to make something that was really tense and suffocating.
Yeah.
Not lighthearted at all. I didn't want anything rollicking or fun. I wanted to make something that was relentlessly tense.
Yeah.
And suffocating to the audience. And that was a decision made very early on. And then I started building out the story, and the thematic elements of the movie about this woman in an abusive relationship, that's stuff that just came about organically.
Yeah.
Like, as you put the pieces of the story together, that starts to emerge on its own,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
you forcing it to go there.
Yeah.
So it becomes very organic. So that was really how it all fell together.
Yeah. I know when I interviewed you about Upgrade, you said you were really nervous before the film was coming out.
Yeah.
Are you really nervous this time because of that legacy that's there, and there's already that sense of fandom, in a sense, about the Invisible Man?
Always. I mean, any
Yeah.
movie, whether it's something with a legacy or just an original like Upgrade, any movie makes me nervous. I mean, even just thinking about it now. I think it's because you put so much of yourself into this movie, and then you release it to the world,
Yeah.
and they get to judge it, and it's just a scary moment. Eventually it eases off the nerves once it's out there and there's nothing you can do about it. You start to relax a little bit. But right now, I'm right in the white hot center of nerves right now, because I'm just starting to put it out there.
Yeah. Now, we mentioned about the ideas coming into your mind when you sat down to write the script. When did the idea come about for you about what the suit would look like for the Invisible Man? Because we were all talking about that last night and saying that was such a genius idea. When did that idea come about for you?
Everything happens in the research period. Usually, before I start writing a script, there's a fairly long period of a couple of months where I'm just collating ideas, researching, going online. It's kind of fun. I like to stretch it out as long as I can because the most fun thing about writing is not writing.
Yep.
And so I like to stretch that out. And during that research, I discovered that, invisibility actually isn't as outlandish a concept as you might think. There are companies that are researching this and actually don't think we're too far away from this being a reality. And so once I locked into that idea that this could be a reality, I was really excited because my whole take on this film was to make it grounded. To make it something that the audience could believe would 100% happen. And could happen tomorrow. That was it.
I think I read somewhere last year that there's a military company actually developing a suit that they think will make soldiers invisible.
Once you dive into that, once you go down that internet rabbit hole of this subject, you really land on some surprising information about what they're developing and think about the type of technology that a few years ago was pure sci-fi. Autonomous cars. That's kind of part of our life now. Self-drive. My wife's car in LA can drive itself. One day I was driving with her on the freeway and she took her hands off the wheel and just let the car drive. It was astounding to me. These technological leaps, they happen to us and it's not very long before we take them for granted. Before they're not special anymore. And I think what was once a very far out concept is now not so much.
Exactly, Now the casting, you have an absolutely amazing cast here, starting with Elizabeth Moss. Tell us a little bit about why you picked her for the film and why you thought she was going to be perfect for it.
Well, I knew she was an amazing actress. I'm a huge fan of Mad Men and The Handmaid's Tale, and I just know how talented she is. And I basically had written a film that rests on this one woman's shoulders. Having said that, there are amazing actors in the movie. We had Aldous Hodge, Storm Reed, Michael Dorman, Harriet Dyer. I really felt blessed by the cast because they were all just so talented. It's almost intimidating to be on set with actors that talented because you want to live up to their talent. It doesn't matter how good an actor is if the film isn't coming together or if the writing's bad, they can't make it good. And so once I saw them act, I was like, I've got to really bring my A game. I've got to live up to these guys, and it was a joy to go to work and have them say these words. All of them were picked purely based on their talent, including Lizzie.
Elizabeth does these amazing scenes, like the scene with the fight in the kitchen where she's on the floor and hitting him with plates. That was such an amazing scene. How, as a director, do you go into that scene with an actress saying you're fighting something that doesn't appear to be there?
I told her on the phone, I was like, look, this is, here's what I want you to be doing. And she said she was up for it. It was interesting. There's a moment when you're on the phone with an actor where you're testing their boundaries, and they're testing yours as well. And I remember saying to her on the phone in my office, listen, this is going to be quite physical, that kitchen scene. We're going to throw you around. And there was a pause. And I was almost waiting for her to be like, well, that's what they have stunt people for, right? And she said, sure, great. So she's done more physical stuff than she's given credit for, because The Handmaid's Tale, I think, is really, she really has to do a lot in that show. And I'm just so excited by what she did, what she was able to deliver. You saw it for yourself.
Exactly. And you mentioned also in the Q&A afterwards that there was a special way that you captured that scene as well with the robotic cameras. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was basically what do you call it? Motion control. Sorry, my eyes are going a bit. They put this makeup on me. My eyes are getting so affected by this. The motion control is basically a robot. It's so sci-fi. It feels like you're in a sci-fi movie because you've got this robot that only does certain things at certain times. So it's almost like dance choreography to watch. Like Lizzie has to know that on the 1 count she has to be here, and then on the 2 count she has to be there. And it's quite astounding. Like she wasn't intimidated by that at all. And it's it must be so intimidating. Can you imagine you or I on the set and knowing, and there's this voice saying, and 1 and 2, and you know that on 4 you have to be over there.
Yeah.
Like it's, and you know that if you mess it up, we've all got to go back to the start.
Yeah.
So she just doesn't show any fear with that stuff. Like she's like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll say like, do you want to rehearse? She's like, nope, let's go.
Yeah.
So she wants to just go for it and get in there. So I mean, what a blessing, to work with someone like that.
You also had one of my favourite Aussie actors in the film as well, who I think is so underrated, Michael Dorman.
Yeah,
I love his
really
movie Acolytes.
Yes.
So he was amazing in the film. What made you cast him for that role? Because I thought it was stunning.
Oh yeah, thank you. I mean, he's incredible, Michael. He is an actor that I had seen before, as you said, in films like Acolytes. And I had seen him in this TV show, Patriot, which is a really offbeat TV show. There's something about him that just struck me as being very Tom-like. This character I'd written was kind of a worm, It's kind of this... There was something about Michael. I knew he'd be able to do it. He'd be laughing if he was here. And he had so much fun with playing this kind of sleazy lawyer character.
Yeah.
So I met with him, and when I explained to him what I wanted to do with the film, he was really excited. Like he wants to be a part of things that are a little bit groundbreaking, or a little bit, if not groundbreaking, then unique in some way. He would never just do a straight up by the numbers horror movie.
Yeah.
He wanted me to explain to him what I was doing, and he was up for it. He would crack up laughing all the time on set every time I give him a direction, because I think he just had fun playing a sleaze.
Yeah. Because he always plays such nice characters. Like, apart from Acolytes.
Yeah.
Even way back in Secret Life of Us, he was the nice guy in that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always is. He just has this natural, affable... He's likable. So I actually loved the idea of putting Michael in that position. And he really relished playing someone who was a bit of a wimp.
Yeah.
I think he really relished that. It was funny. There's one of the executives at Blumhouse, every time he watches the film with me, he cracks up at Michael's scene, because he's just really enjoying Michael enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Location-wise, too.
This is the last question.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Location-wise, you got to film in Australia. How difficult is that to film in Australia but have the film set in America? Because I know a lot of film students out there are going to wonder how you go about doing that.
Yeah, it's tougher than you think. Like, on the surface, America and Australia are very similar, but then once you dig deeper, you realize how different they are. Like, we build with different materials. Everything's different over here. So, even just finding an exterior location for the house was difficult, because having lived in the US for 15 years, I know exactly what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And so we really tried hard to find the perfect place, and I'm really proud of what the crew did and how it came together. Like, you wouldn't know, hopefully, I mean, you saw it last night.
Yeah.
You don't know that is a set.
Yeah.
It feels like a real house that's connected to the outside world. But it's a set with an exterior, and it was all shot on a stage in Fox Studios. And so I'm really proud of that, of how they built this world, and hopefully it just feels natural that the film is set in San Francisco.
And it didn't have that thing like Queen of the Damned and Ghost Rider where you keep on spotting Melbourne landmarks. That kind of takes you out of the movie as well. So. Yeah,
I mean, we did some aerial shots in San Francisco. We put the San Francisco landmarks in there.
Yeah.
And I was really happy with that aspect of the film, just how seamless it was between But it was definitely all shot in Sydney and New South Wales. We found that great house, which was a great piece of architecture that really captured what the character was.
Awesome.
Hopefully the audience gets a sense of who this guy is from the opening scene just by his house.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Well, Leigh, thank you so much for coming to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers.